5 ways to build muscle after 40. So if you're not doing these 5 and perfecting these 5, it's just not going to happen unless you're on a boatload of drugs. So I absolutely believe, whether you're a bodybuilder or not, or you just want to live your best life, that optimizing the amount of lean skeletal muscle tissue on your body is the absolute most important thing to do as you age. The science of myokines is so fascinating. What these myokines are doing, the resistance training stimulated muscle releases these myokines into the system. And we're just beginning to learn like the benefits of it. They're so vast, but one of the main benefits is truly longevity. So starting on the list for number 5, you have to truly become an artist at sleep. Like, it's no longer just get good quality sleep. It's way more than that. It's the depth of the sleep, the amount of REM sleep, the time of the night that you get the sleep. There's always a nice, beautiful growth hormone spike in that first 90-minute cycle of sleep that happens before midnight. If you don't get sleep in that first, good quality sleep in that first 90-minute cycle, like, you lose that window of releasing growth hormone. Growth hormone is crucial. Obviously, growth hormone, IGF-1, it's helping stimulate muscle tissue growth. It's helping muscle protein synthesis. So sleep has to become more than just a good idea, but something that you prefer. So a couple things I do specifically: I turn the TV off. I turn it like, it doesn't matter if it's Saturday or if it's Monday. If I'm not in bed by 10 o'clock at the latest, something's wrong. Like, literally become a Nazi about your sleep. Sleep like a baby would. It's very, very important, because the science shows even half an hour of deprivation of sleep, your body's releasing more of this cortisol, and it's blunting a lot of this growth response that you need for muscle protein synthesis. So use an eye mask, drop your temperature down. Another thing that's crucial that I've learned actually in the last year or two, try to leave 2 to 3 hours before you sleep, where you go to sleep fasted, so your body doesn't have to sit there and digest food. Your sleep is much deeper, and studies show that the growth hormone response is that much greater. If you leave that window of 2 to 3 hours before you sleep, going fasted. So number 4 is make sure you're starting with the right foundation. And what that means is get your body fat percentage in a manageable range, so that you're in that window and range where your body wants to and can lay down lean tissue. For me, I find that's 12 to 15%, give or take, where you can maintain that body fat percentage and still put on lean mass. You don't have to go through the cycle of bulking and cutting, all this crap that all these professional bodybuilders teach you, that are mostly all enhanced, taking a bunch of diuretics and a bunch of thyroid, other stuff that allow them to do stuff like that with their body. For you, you want to be in that range, and you can just perpetually stay in that range and build tissue without having to do this bulk and cut. So I like to stay around 12%, where I can still see my abs pretty clearly. There's a little bit of fat on the lower abs, but that's the state, honestly, for me, that I feel the best. Like, I don't care to get down to 8% and make it so it doesn't look like this is the thing with natural bodybuilding. No one tells you. You get down to 8-7%, get really lean, really shredded, nobody can even tell you lift unless you take your shirt off. Like, who cares? Like, you're going to look like a regular Joe Schmo walking around if you want to just be lean. So you can be lean or you can build muscle. You cannot do both as a natural. It's just what it is. Like, I like to wear this double XL, and I like to fill out the shirt. I like people to like see and know that I lift, that I'm 245, 250 pounds-ish for my frame, like as a natural, that like people see and respect that, the wide shoulders, the V taper, the big arms, and they know that you lift whether you have the shirt on or not, off or not. So for me, 12 to 15%, try to get to that body fat percentage. So focus on getting to that percentage first, and then you can just grow from there perpetually without having to do all this bulk and cut crap. So number 3 would be truly, I don't think you're eating enough protein. And we can do the whole math and everything else, but the majority of us, especially as we get over 40, we develop a little bit of anabolic resistance, where our cells, our tissue needs a higher dose of protein to create a stimulus, to create a muscle building stimulus. Because the last thing your body wants to do is build muscle. Like, that's so energy inefficient. So you have to give it a reason to. And one of the ways you do that in addition to one we'll talk about in a second, is really truly eating more protein. I mean, I've never seen anyone, I mean, it's theoretically possible, but nobody as a natural is eating too much protein. It just doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't happen. So, like, understand and recognize this anabolic resistance that develops with age and really focus on getting plenty of protein. You know, what the science is showing is you want 25 grams-ish, like every meal. Specifically, that first meal of the day is very important. But every meal you want, like, depending on how many meals you eat, but you want that sufficient stimulus of protein enough to get these genes running and express these proteins. So truly focus on eating more protein. And for me, I don't follow necessarily a strict keto, carnivore, whatever. Everyone's got some name and label of some diet that they want to follow and hold up like there's some Nazi and everyone else should follow it. I don't believe in that crap. But if you focus just on protein, on maximizing your protein intake, like, it's going to make you feel more full, more satiated, and it's absolutely going to keep you in an anabolic state. So number 2 is learning how to work out hard. Like, just like learning how to go, sometimes balls to the wall, if you want to call it that, or whatever you want to call it, in an intelligent way. The stimulus, like for this, the last thing your body wants to do, the last thing your brain wants to do, especially as you get older, is lay down more lean tissue mass. Like, that's the last thing it wants to do. Like I said, it's so metabolically inefficient. It takes so much energy and resources to do this. Your body just wants to be in this homeostatic survival mode where it just maintains status quo. You've got to give it an absolute reason to do that. And the number one most important thing to do that is honestly the stimulus. The stimulus has got to be there. So, like, you got to understand and learn how to work out hard. Like, I realized for me as I've gotten, I didn't know what I was doing until I was in my 30s. Like, whatever, I really didn't. I mean, I thought I was working out hard, but I was just like banging around weight and not really optimizing certain things. Like, I used to be a pitcher. I used to be pretty decent as a pitcher, and I would spend hours and hours learning every single angle and mechanics of how to get the ball in the right place, to break at the right time, to hit the catcher's glove at the right time, holding the ball in the exact right angle. Even if it was just a couple degrees off, it changed it. So, like, become a scientist of exercise. Become a scientist of hypertrophy training. And gratefully, it's more in vogue than it used to be. I mean, sometimes it's made fun of. But you got to freaking learn the art and the science. It's an art and a science of working out hard. Like, if anything else, you got to have that stimulus that just says to your brain, I don't care, we're going to stop directing and diverting all these resources to other endeavors, and we're going to focus our resources on responding to the stimulus that's just, it cannot deny. My number one advice for building muscle after 40 is walk your own way. Honestly, walk your own way. There's lots of noise out there. There are a lot of people trying to sell you programs and things that have worked for them. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you. The fundamental flaw is that, if something's worked for one person, it's going to work for another person the same exact way. We're different. Like, we're absolutely different. We respond to different things. You've got to experiment. You've got to become like a mad scientist of your own body, of what you respond to, like what movements you respond to, how your body responds. Like, for me, honestly, like, I don't do as much pure 6 to 8 rep strength training anymore at all because my body doesn't respond to it. Like, I feel like I'm wasting my time because I see so little effort. So I focus on hypertrophy ranges, hypertrophy movements, and I get stronger in those ranges. I don't care about the 1 rep maxes. Occasionally strength training works okay just to maintain, but focusing on just max intensity in the lifts works for me. Like, for me, like, there are a lot of slow twitch fiber muscles for me that require more volume, more density. So, I played around with like DC training, dog trap training. It didn't work that well for me. It just left my joints sore. I didn't like it. Whereas like a higher, moderate to higher volume is what I respond to best. And you find out what works for you. So for me, a lot of the times what I did is I just stopped unfollowing a lot of these people. Like, everyone and their dog wants to sell you their advice of their program based on whatever their results, and good for them. But you aren't necessarily the same. So you've honestly got to be courageous enough, stop being lazy, and be like a true, explorer of your own body and what works for you. Let me know what you guys think. What would be your top advice, your top recommendations from your experience of things that have worked for you to gain and put on lean tissue mass for individuals after 40?